Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. Alright guys, so today the Nexus 4 was announced. I'm going to try refreshing it right now to make sure it's still not available. I don't believe it's available yet. It's not available to purchase yet. It is available to notify you as soon as it is available. So if you didn't hear, the event was canceled because of New York, the hurricanes they're going through right now. So the event was canceled. But however, they still wanted obviously to like let you know about the phones because that was kind of promised today. So first of all, the Nexus 4 comes in two different variants. One is 8 gigs for $299, and the second one is 16 gig for $349. Now this is really cool because these are off-contract phones, and I think it's really good for the price. I mean, you're normally paying about $199 for the top of the line phone with a contract. This is $299 without a contract, starting off, and $349 for a 16 gig. Now, I always recommend a 16 over an 8 gig. 8 gig is great for the person that was thinking about getting like a Virgin mobile phone and or a Boost mobile phone, any one of those prepaids. They should definitely get this one because since those hold about 8 gigs anyway, it's going to be a lot better for this kind of quality. I mean, you're literally getting one of the top of the line phones instead of a phone that's been out for a year, which is most Boost and Virgin phones. However, the real interesting things about this is, so it does come with Android 4.2, and this is HSPA plus. So sorry about that. HSPA plus, which means it will only work in the U.S. It'll only work for AT&T and T-Mobile. So it'll work for those two carriers. You can probably get it for, if you're thinking of the other prepaid services, you can probably get it to work for Straight Talk and even Track Phone in some parts. So you can probably get it to work for those as well. But so here's the specs on it. It's a 4.7-inch screen. It has 1280 by 768 pixel resolution, which makes it a pixel density of 320 ppi, and it has Gorilla Glass 2. Very few devices on the market have Gorilla Glass 2, so it is good that it has it. The S3 was, I believe, the first one with Gorilla Glass 2. It has the Qualcomm S4 Pro processor, which is, if I'm not mistaken, it is their quad-core processor. We don't get details on it, whether it be a dual-core or a quad-core, but from what I understand, the Pro should be their quad-core. So that's important because, like, the S3 was their dual-core processor, this is their quad-core processor, so it should even be faster. And in terms of weight, doesn't weigh too much. In terms of size, pretty good all around. And then it is unlocked, so it's globally unlocked, so you can put it on any carrier that uses GSM technology. So like in the US, that would be AT&T and T-Mobile. And the camera is an 8 megapixel on the back and a 1.3 on the front. And you do have, built-in memory, either 8 gigs or 16. And it does have 2 gigs of RAM. Now, the ports that are on here are micro USB and slim port HDMI, which is really curious because I'm not sure if that's a micro HDMI or if it's something new. I can't really tell by the pictures for that port, so we'll have to wait and see. It does have a 2100 lithium polymer battery, but the problem with that is that it's built in, you cannot access it. See, with the S3, although it had that kind of battery, you could actually upgrade it to a lot of different other batteries. So that's the one kind of thing that worries me about this device, that you cannot take out the battery. At least from what we've seen, that's all speculation still at this point. But since we've seen leaked videos of it, leaked photos and all that, and they all say that it's pretty well confirmed. Now you also have Android 4.2 on here, which is the latest version of Android. Just a couple of differences. I'll have a video on what the differences are on 4.2 in a little bit. And then we also have wireless charging. So that's the big thing that we didn't know about, that was rumored at this point. And basically wireless charging, so you can actually just leave your phone there and it'll wirelessly charge. At least that's how most wireless charging things have worked. So that's pretty cool that it has that. I'm really kind of interested to see how it works. This was, I believe, first introduced with the Galaxy S3 having its own personal one, and then before that we had the Power Mats having them as well. Although those were almost worthless because you still have to get like an adapter for most of your devices, so it just those didn't work out. So yeah, so this is pretty interesting to see how it goes and how this is working. And but yeah, so this is my take on the Nexus 7. So my take on the Nexus 7 is I think it's a great device. I really see that this being LG's kind of one chance with Android. The reason why I say that, they have the Optimus G, okay? They have the Optimus G. But the Optimus G has one big flaw, and that is LG. LG's interface is not that good. It really feels like it's trying to copy off of TouchWiz. Like everything TouchWiz did right, like they're trying to copy it. And the problem that I see with LG is that they've always been in the shadow of Samsung, and this is true in any form. If you go to the form of TVs, they've always been the shadow of it. Oh, LG is a great TV. Don't get me wrong. I'd always recommend LG TVs, but Samsung is better. And LG was actually, I would say, better back in the day with feature phones. When you had, like the LG Voyager and things like that, before the smartphones really hit on Android, they were actually probably better on feature phones. But they stayed dedicated to feature phones, while companies like Samsung and HTC really brought on the smartphone wave. And LG has been trying to catch up ever since. Now, LG had high-end ones like the Prada and things like that, which were amazing, and which you wouldn't have the iPhone if it wasn't for the LG Prada. But it's really interesting to see how this kind of has come about, and it's really elegant looking. It's very nice looking. But this was the first Nexus that I did not feel compelled to get, and that's saying a lot for me because I love Nexus phones. I was so happy when the Galaxy Nexus came to Verizon, but therein lied the problem. The reason why I do not feel that there will be a CDMA version of this phone is because Verizon really held it back, and it really messed up for pretty much all the carriers in terms of not getting updates out quick enough. Not even getting quick enough, but just taking forever to get an update. So these kind of things I feel brought this upon the carriers, where I don't think they're releasing it for any specific carrier. So it will be available, like, for you can get it for T-Mobile and you can get it for AT&T, but that's pretty much it. So I don't know. I don't think it'll be as successful without LTE. That's the last thing. Is that although this is a great phone, it has specs wise, it's probably one of the best. It's one of the best phones out there. And the fact that it has stock Google takes away the downside of LG. Although LG's two main problems with the Optimus G were camera and call quality. And with this one, I see a possible battery life issue. Depending on how well they did power management. LG is not known for being good at battery management, just like HTC is. So these are the kind of things that I've reflected on with this one, and ultimately I am not getting this phone. Simply for one, I'm on Verizon, so I could it would be like getting another line anyway. But two, it's just I see LG's hardware not fully being there, and plus, I mean, right now I would say I want an LTE device. For any carrier, I would recommend getting an LTE device at this point. Although T-Mobile, although HSPA is the current holding, it's kind of like, well, it's kind of like the whole Flash, Adobe Flash versus HTML5. HTML5 is a future. You've never heard anyone say otherwise. HTML5 is a future. However, we're right now, and right now, it is, it is going to be Adobe Flash. Now, HTML5, saying when it's the future, I mean, in 5 years from now, I think that every website will pretty much use HTML5. However, that leaves 4 years before then, before it gets to that point. Whereas HSPA Plus, while it is still current, especially where Google's main source, where Google's main buyers are in the U.S., HSPA Plus is already pretty much out the door. And although this does make it a global phone, the fact that you can take it anywhere and it'll work, I think putting LTE on there would have been a much better choice. Now, 2100 milliamp with HSPA Plus should give you a really long battery life. So maybe it actually won't have any battery issues for that reason, because 2100 milliamp plus HSPA plus, when I was on the Galaxy S3 for T-Mobile, this that battery definitely lasted about, I would easily say, easily a day, sometimes even a day and a half. So it's definitely interesting, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I recommend anyone to always get a Nexus phone. But with this one, I'm curious to see what it is. I'm debating whether I'm going to get it for the channel or not. First, my main priority is the Nexus 10, because that's the one that I'm really interested in. It's the one I'm most excited for. So I'm really interested to see that one. However, with this one, it's kind of like, I don't know. I think it's the fact that it's LG. If it would have been Samsung with similar specs, I think I would have trusted it a lot more. But again, it's HSPA plus. I think Samsung would have pushed for LTE. And again, that's the difference of the brands, that LG would settle for HSPA plus, whereas Samsung would deliver LTE, or they would deliver two versions of the phone, HSPA plus version and LTE version. And so that's the difference. But yeah, so let me know what you think about the Nexus 4. I will leave the link for the device itself. So if you do want to purchase it, the link will be down below, and it'll take you right to the Notify Me. So it'll email you as soon as it's available to purchase. But yeah, guys, what do you think of the Nexus 4? Are you going to get it? Let me know. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. This has been RICKY, the Android Guy.